Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. I hope you are having a wonderful day today. So I need to put together a bridal bouquet for our wedding this weekend, and I thought I would bring you along. You've seen me work with an armature before, but I will tell you about this little chicken wire armature again. So I like to use, when I'm working with a nice size bouquet, I like to use an armature. Now, armatures can be purchased already made. You do not have to make them yourself if you don't want to. I just find that it's less expensive if I make them myself. I go to the hardware store like Lowe's or the Co-op or Tractor Supply, and I pick up a roll of chicken wire. I cut a small piece and I make a little pillow, and all I do is I just fold in the edges and I twist it together with the wires that I cut, and I make just a small little pillow. Now what this does, an armature is really just a grid, and a grid helps to hold everything together for me, and it makes it where I can make a larger arrangement and I can give it a little more style than instead of just doing just a regular hand-tied bouquet. So I'm going to start out. I have all my flowers laid out here. I'm going to start out with white hydrangeas as my base. I like to use hydrangeas in bridal work. You can use pretty much any types of flowers in bridal work, but I just love a hydrangea. So I'm going to use 3 white hydrangeas. Pull my garbage can over here. I'm going to take my armature and I'm just going to run this hydrangea right through one of the little holes in that chicken wire. I'm going to take my second hydrangea and do exactly the same thing, just at a different angle. Just like that. So I have 2, and then I'm going to take my third and tuck him in. If I can get him right, angled right. Okay. So there are our 3 hydrangeas. Now you can see with me using this armature, it has got them separated very well. If I had hand tied them and just held them in my hand, I wouldn't have the separation that I do here. So that's what I love the most about an armature or a grid to hold my flowers together. Next one, I'm going to just lay this down because it'll stay together. Next one I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this gunite. I'm just cutting it into smaller pieces so I can tuck it into this arrangement. And I'm going to keep any of the pieces that I pull off. It can be used in smaller work like corsages and boutonnieres. So always, if you have more small work to do, save those little tiny pieces. If nothing else, they're fun to put in a little bud vase on your windowsill. That eucalyptus smells so pretty, and it's nice to have in your home. So I'm just taking this uke and cutting it into smaller pieces that are easier to work with. And it's always probably a great idea to have this prepped beforehand, but when you're in a regular working flower shop, you don't always have the time to have everything prepped. There we go. And I do have some seeded eucalyptus. I'm going to drop that in the bucket up there. I also have some seeded eucalyptus that I'm going to separate. Strip some of those stems off. And I'll use this around the base of the bouquet. All right, I think that I am ready to come in with us a little bit of greenery. So I'm going to pick my hydrangeas back up, and I'm going to take some of this eucalyptus. I'm going to run that right through that grid and give us just a little bit of form around this bouquet. So what this is going to do is then after I get my eucalyptus kind of where I want it, I am going to take my flowers and nestle those in. But this is kind of a free form bouquet. She just kind of wanted an airy, pretty little hand-tied bouquet. So I'm just taking that eucalyptus and tucking it right through my little grid, okay? Okay, There's a little bit of greenery. The rest of it I'll use to finish up my bouquet, but that's just going to kind of give me enough of a form to show me where I can add flowers without tucking my greenery in and covering up all of my flowers. Okay, so there's my greenery added. I'm going to slide some of that over. Next I'm going to come in with my white stock. I'm going to take and just strip off that foliage and just nestle it right down into that bouquet. Take it, hold that stem, strip that foliage, and nestle it right in. Another nice part about having the armature is it helps hold everything together. So if I needed to lay it down and walk away for a minute, I can certainly do that. All right, so there is our stock, our white stock tucked into our hydrangeas. Now if you see any bloom that doesn't have that has a little mark, just go ahead and pull that right out. Okay, so there is our stock. Next I'm going to come in with some large maroon colored mums. So our bride asked that we do maroon, blush, and white. So I'm going to take these large mums and I am going to tuck those right down into this bouquet. Now I'm only using 3 stems of those mums. I'm going to pull that out and try to hit that armature. I didn't hit the grid, so I'm going to try that again. I'm only using 3 stems. It's important. That stem's broken. It's important that you use odd numbers here, not evens. You don't want to use just 2 because you don't want it to look like eyes looking back at you. So it's important that you use at least 3 or more. These are so large, 3 is plenty. So I'm just taking and stripping off that foliage. I'm taking that stem and nestling it right through, or working it right down into that armature. So there's 2. So see how that kind of looks like 2 eyes looking at you? So here's the reason you put the 3rd one in, is because you do not want, and there's my 3rd one. So see how much that helps? Now no worries, I know that all that maroon kind of looks harsh with the white. I do have some pretty maroon berries that we're going to tuck in, so that's going to help break up some of that. Okay. Hey, I'm 3 big maroon mums, so no worries. Next I'm going to come in with my pink, and these are called white O'Hara roses. And I'm going to take these O'Haras and nestle them in. Now they're called whites, but they're really a pretty blush. And I'll open it up in just a minute, but I'm going to just take that rose and just nestle it right into that arrangement. Now, if there are any bumps or bruises on those petals, go ahead and remove those. This is the one close-up arrangement that they will have pictures of. So anytime you have a petal that has a bump or a bruise, be sure to remove that, because the bride's bouquet is the one bouquet that will be photographed very closely, okay? So I'm going to take another rose. I'm removing any of the foliage. And I'm blowing it because I'm trying to blow some of those petals open. I don't want to pull them open with my hand too much because I don't want it so blown, but if I softly blow those petals, it's going to open them some. Okay, so there's our roses tucked in, and we've got our mums, we've got our stock, our hydrangeas. Next I'm going to come in with a few little white spray roses. I'm not going to do many of these. I brought more than I needed. This is just giving us just a different size in the roses. So I'm just going to take and tuck like 3 stems total of the spray roses in, just because I wanted just a little bit of a different texture. All right, so there's our white spray roses tucked in. Next I'm going to come in with Hypericum berries, the maroon Hypericum berries. I'm just stripping that foliage and just tucking it in. So everything's done exactly the same. You just tuck, tuck, tuck. I do think the Hypericum berries help soften the arrangement with the fact that it helps to fill in some of that burgundy. You know, it just kind of helps it. It gives it a little more color all the way through.
I can write down.
All right.
Okay.
Now, here comes my last flower. So there's our Hypericum berries all the way around. Here comes our last flower. Our last flower that we're going to use are white ranunculus. Now, I think these perhaps might be right up there with some of my very favorite flowers. They're just such pretty lacy flowers. So I'm going to tuck a few of these in. After I add the ranunculus, I am going to go ahead and tape off my bouquet, and then I will finish it with a little bit of foliage. So you can see I'm having to kind of work this. I'm having to work that stem right down in there, but it's taking me just a minute because it's got a little, let's see.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm going to tape it off, and then we will add our finishing touches with our greenery. So I'm going to slide these flowers over. This is just a waterproof tape. I'm going to take it and go ahead and tape those stems. And I'm going to go all the way around 2 or 3, 4 times with that tape, just to make sure that it holds my flowers into place. I'm going to lay it down and tear it off. Okay, so up underneath, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm still seeing a little bit of my wire up underneath that bouquet. So here's how you're going to cover those mechanics. Now, it's always important that you cover your mechanics. I know I say that a lot, but it is. It's very important that you cover those up. We don't need to see your slip up underneath your skirt. And so that's what we're going to do, is we're going to cover those mechanics. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take eucalyptus, and I am just going to lay it right all the way around the edges of this bouquet. So what that's doing is it's helping me to cover, and I'll clean all this up, but it's helping me to cover up that grid. So I'm just taking that greenery, laying it right there, all the way around this bouquet. This one's that one's a little long, so I'm just gonna take it and give it a haircut. There we go. Okay, so there is our greenery all the way around our bouquet. I'm going to take my tape, and I am going to tape that greenery right onto that bouquet, just like I did my flowers. And I'm going to come around. And you want it taped tightly, so go around and around. Now this is how I do it. I don't know how other florists do it. I just find that the tape is the easiest, and it doesn't cut into the flowers. But there is our finished bridal bouquet. What I'll do next is I'll take and I'll cut my stems off, and then I'll finish off the bouquet with a little touch of ribbon. I'll take them in there to our large cutter, and I'll cut those stems. But I'll show you really quickly how I like to finish off the bouquet with ribbon. Okay, so my bouquet, I went in the back and I used my flower cutter, and I cut those stems, and I'll cut them again before I add them to fresh water. So I've taken and cut my stems. I'm gonna lay my bouquet on the table, and I like to take just florist satin ribbon, and I cut probably about 12 inches or so. I lay it right on top of that tape, and I hold it with my thumb here, and then I come around that bouquet very tightly with that ribbon. So I just pull it tight and just wrap it around several times. Okay, and when I come to the end of the ribbon, I like to take and fold it over. I just fold it to give me a clean end there, okay? Next I take these are little pins, corsage pins. They have little pearl heads. I take that pearl pin and I just push it up toward the top of the bouquet. You want to go toward the flowers, don't go down towards where your hands would be, okay? I'm going to take a second pin. I'm going to push that right in and I'm pushing it up toward the flowers. And there is your finished bouquet. So it's wrapped with pretty ribbon. Now you can add any colors. I have added blue ribbon, so for it's something blue. We have added different trinkets into a bouquet, but that's traditionally how I finish off a bouquet. There it is, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about how we put together bouquets or anything about the flower shop, be sure to drop those in the comments down below. We are so happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please be sure to do that. Hope you have a wonderful day.